Hey everybody, this is Gavin and welcome to another FME Fireside with the Abley Digital Engineering team. We've got Hamish coming to us live from Bonn, Germany at the peak of data integration. And my name's Gavin. I'm back in Christchurch. And today we're just going to be getting some quick hitters from Hamish on what he's seen, what he saw at day one, and how he's enjoying the user conference so far and what kind of things he's come out. And I need to stop talking so we can hear from Hamish. How's it been, Hamish?
No, it's been really great. Thanks, Gav. Yeah, it's been a busy first day. So sort of the first start of, or yesterday, there was a partners only day which we attended, and today was the actual conference kickoff. So we didn't hear any user stories today, but we did hear some keynote speeches from Don and Dale, the two founders of Safe Software, and also from Conterra, who are working with Safe on this event, as well as a few other keynote speakers. All but one of them were FME users, and I will touch a bit more on FME in a moment, but we had this guy called Mark Pollock talk to us to guide us and to motivate us to work together and to collaborate. And Mark had a really, really interesting story. When he was young, he lost his eyesight in one eye from a retina detachment. And then when he was in his 20s, he lost his eyesight in his second eye. So this obviously is a bit of a shock, and but he didn't let that stop him. He was always active and always really driven by sports. He rode, he did lots of running, he did lots of outdoor exploration, and he didn't let this stop him. So there was the opportunity for him to go to the South Pole, and he took that. So he was the first blind person ever to make it as part of a team to the South Pole.
Yeah.
Then one night after he had made it to the South Pole, he got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, as you do, and because he is blind, he has to feel his way around, and he felt a gap in the wall where he thought the bathroom door was, but it was actually an open window, and he fell out of the window 2 stories and broke his back and cracked his skull. Basically, he's not going to survive. It was a very, very slim chance. But what happened was he pushed through, and he obviously survived. But now what he's doing is he's working on all this experimental technology to stimulate his nerve endings so he can begin to regain use of his legs. And he's also working with researchers on developing an exoskeleton to help people like him get the movement back into their legs and regain that freedom of walking that the vast majority of the population take for granted. Now, he spoke for about an hour on this, and it was absolutely fascinating. I strongly suggest anyone listening look him up online. But what he was trying to get at was he couldn't achieve all of this by himself. Yeah. He had to work with people. He had to collaborate, and he had to work as a team. And that was the message he was delivering, to work together, to take everyone's strengths, to build off each other, and to deliver a combined outcome. And it was a really, really powerful message. And talking with people afterwards, it really got people thinking, and got people thinking, how can we work together? How can we make things better? So that was a really, really awesome start to the conference to get that mind thinking. I can't do a story justice, so I'm going to move on, and we'll talk about something I can talk a little bit more and experience about, and that's FME. Now, obviously, we just
if I can tie those two together real quick, I mean, that's really FME in a nutshell, if you think about it, because it's integration. It's pulling different data sets together. It's pulling different systems together. It's pulling different teams together, depending on who you're working with. You may have your asset management team trying to work with your finance team, and then you're also got your field team, and work orders need to be pushed to those guys. And so it really is a hard-hitting keynote speech, because it's amazing. First of all, the guy sounds awesome. I'm going to go look it up for sure. And then also tying in with data integration and FME in general. A lot of times, at least in the past, you kind of have to get people to understand what is FME, and a data integration tool is kind of nefarious and tough to talk about until you start getting some of the problems from what customers are seeing and what people are experiencing and what kinds of solutions you can build using FME. So that's pretty cool that he talked about that. Teammate, he's really only he's one person, and so he's doing great things, but as you mentioned, it takes a team to be able to execute those amazing feats.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I could have sat there and listened to him for hours, and I'm sure he could have kept talking about hours about how he's worked and pushed people to do their best and to provide an awesome outcome.
Nice. Cool. So that was at the plenary then? He was like a keynote or something?
Keynote, sort of, yeah,
cool.
To bring everyone together and to get us thinking.
Nice.
So sort of after that, we had Don and Dale talk, and they sort of gave an overview of what's happened in FME in the last couple of years, really, and what improvements have been made. So one of the things was 23.1. Of course, now it's not 2023, it's just 23.1. Was officially released earlier today, Bonn time, but I believe it's been out on the website for a couple of days now, if not a week, and that's bringing in a whole bunch of new things. And one thing that I saw that was really, really cool, and I can't actually wait to have a go, is their AI augmented authoring.
Yeah.
So obviously we've recently seen a massive boom in ChatGPT and those large language models. And what Safe has amazingly done in the last couple of months while that boom has been taking place is implemented that functionality into their toolset. Yeah. And at the moment, I can't speak to what it's like. I can only speak to having seen on the slides. It's limited to three things. It's limited to regular expression, to SQL, and to Python. And basically what it allows you to do is
pretty powerful.
Is say, write me a piece of regular expression that will find all capital letters and replace them with an underscore.
Yep.
It will go and do that. You can write a piece of Python that says, break down this string on commas and print out each value in its own attribute
or something like. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And it will go through and select all of that. And I mean, SQL, I know enough to be dangerous, and I know enough to ask what I want. And I've used a lot of ChatGPT over the last couple of months to help refine my SQL statements. So now that sits within FME, I don't have to open up a new browser. I can just do it all natively within that one. That one product. So that's cool. That's really cool.
I feel like they started in a good spot too, because that was one of the things that was talked about with ChatGPT when it was first coming out. From a developer side of things, you could see, because it's very systematic in the way that you write those things. And I mean, yeah, we've seen it used here at Abley. Yourself and Chris and Todd, Maz, they've all been pulling out GPT just to refine statements. Exactly what's the best way to do a certain SQL statement or Python script or whatnot. That's really cool. I think they started in a really good spot for that to roll it out.
Definitely. And so something that Don and Dale mentioned was they don't generally like putting new features in like .1 releases, and the training team especially doesn't like it because it means they need to update their documentation. But there's sort of two main releases, and I'll mention, or two main updates that I'll mention, and I'll mention the second one in a sec, that they thought were just too cool not to not to release.
Yeah.
So the second one is working. So in your HTTP caller, if you're working with a REST API, say, you had to go through and you had to configure the syntax of the URL, you
Yeah.
had to set all the headers and the body.
Yeah.
What they've done is integrated their platform now with a thing called Open API. It was the first I'd ever heard of that, but what I understand it is a library of a whole heap of different API standards. And now you can import that structure directly into your HTTP caller and don't have to worry about manually formatting it. So you can just plug in your variables, plug in your attribute values or parameter values in the right place without having to worry about getting the right sort of syntax of the body and the header and the URL. So that's a really cool one as well.
It saves some time and just saves some guesswork and digging around into the documentation on exactly how to do certain things and where you might put bearer, where you might put a header and whatnot. And yeah, that is nice.
Yeah. And then a couple of other really sort of small things is so they've had the compare workspace available for the last few releases, but it's sort of been a tech preview. But what they've done in this release is it's no longer in tech preview, so it's out, it's version 1. And they have said that there is still a lot of work that they have that they want to do on it. So really stay tuned to see how that continues to develop. And another cool one that they only really touched on very, very briefly was, and I haven't had a chance to look in and play with it, but they've updated how attributes are shown in the feature information window. And what they've alluded to is that, when you, in your inspector, when you go and look
data
at
inspector,
your
is that what you mean? Data inspector? Okay, cool.
Data inspector, yeah. That they've now updated it so it groups the attributes together, so you can look at all your exposed, unexposed, list attributes, FME default attributes, so that they're all grouped together. So you can see very easily, very quickly, what's exposed, what's not exposed,
and then that's
what's
handy.
like a FME standard one, FME underscore color, So yeah, this was based on about 10 seconds of talk. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but
well, you've given
I'm
us
sure
plenty,
we will have a look.
You've given us plenty to go dig into, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then FME's always, SAFE's always been really focused on speed improvements. So one thing that they've been doing since about 2017, so what's that, 6 years ago, is slowly progressing all their transformers into bulk mode. Which I'm not really sure how it works, but it just changes the way that all the data is dealt with. And as of this release, they have basically done all transformers that can use bulk mode now support bulk mode.
Nice.
So you really won't hear about that anymore because bulk mode is the norm.
Just the standard. Cool.
It's just the standard now. And then, of course, they always like talking about
speed improvements,
how much speed improvements, and some of the numbers here are pretty impressive. So they gave a bunch of improvement numbers, and these are all based on user cases that users in the community have sent through to SAFE saying, hey, this isn't working right, this is really slow, can you improve it? So one case, area on area overlayer is 70 times faster. The aggregator, so this was quite funny. So the aggregator is a pretty widely used transformer, and it was only ever built to aggregate spatial geometries together. It wasn't built initially to aggregate attributes. So they have made some improvements there. So in one case, it's gone from over an hour to under 6 minutes to do an aggregation.
That's awesome. And that's totally true as far as the aggregator goes. I mean, can't tell you how many times I just plop that in there because oh, it'll make a list, or it'll group everything together, and then all of a sudden you've got a long feature, what have you. And I know, I mean, obviously it wouldn't be a line combiner and those types of things, but with regard to using the aggregator as kind of a Swiss Army knife for grouping things together, I would use that as well sometimes.
Oh, I think we all do.
Yeah.
And then they've also made a heap of improvements to the various Clipper sort of base transformers. So an area clipping an area. There was one case where it just wouldn't clip; it would crash. It now works. So
Nice.
You could argue that's a infinite times speed improvement. But some of the other things you're looking at, like 36 times faster, so 18-minute clip down to 30 seconds. Made some massive improvements in surface clipping, so up to 110 times faster.
Nice.
As well as raster clipping, where they've not only improved the performance of the clipper, they've actually reduced the resource usage. Which
That's
is
nice.
Another major thing to another major performance consideration.
Yes. Yeah, just as data sets keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it is nice to have some of that stuff where you won't be tearing apart memory.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So I mean, there was only sort of the lunchtime and afternoon session of the general conference today, but there's going to be, so we're into all the user stories tomorrow and Thursday. Cool. So it'll be really exciting to hear what the community has been working on. And
is there anything that you're
going to catch up?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, all good. I think we're going to catch up in a couple of days, and I'll update you all on some of the cool things that I've heard is happening in the community.
Yeah, I have two more. I'm curious, is there anything that you're excited about over the next couple of days now that you've seen kind of what's going to be on deck with regard to user stories, presentations, anything really?
Well, a bit of a shameless plug. So we're in the Bonn World Conference Centre, which, as we found out today, used to be where the German Parliament sat. So really? One of the conference rooms is the old German sort of Parliament chambers, and cool. that's where I'll be presenting one of my presentations. So that's sort of exciting, sort of a little bit nerve-wracking, because you stand in the middle of a big circle and everyone is just sort of sitting in a semicircle around you, looking down on you. So that will be an entirely different presentation experience, but I am looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, they sort of gave a quick run through and just scrolling through all the presentations that the community have submitted. There's some awesome stuff, and it's going to be really, really hard to narrow down exactly what's being presented. And I want to give a shout out to Matt Smiley from his company escapes me, but he did a presentation to us at Abley a couple of months ago, and I was chatting to him today, and unfortunately we're both presenting at the same time, and we both told each other that we would love to see each other's presentation, but that's just the way it happens. So
in the past,
they've see yours.
Yeah, in the past they've put them online, so maybe there will be a chance that you could grab it a week or two down the track. Yeah. And then the other question that I was wondering is, how's the food?
Good. The food at the SAFE conferences are always very good. We got some nice fresh pretzels this afternoon, with some local beer and some German hot dogs. So that was pretty cool. Conference food's been really good. It's always great at the SAFE events.
Yeah. I happened to be on LinkedIn before I call, and I saw one or two photos of the spread, so I knew that it was going to be a pretty solid answer.
Well, I did have a couple of comments from people that and I get this comment in the office as well, that whenever they see me, they always see me with food in my hand. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. I can vouch for that one. No, thanks for taking time out of your day. I know it's a little late over there, so I appreciate you calling in. This is awesome to get this on the boots on the ground, just input for how the conference is going. And I'm glad you're having a good time. I'm glad you're taking in some good stuff. And I'll see if we can't find some time to poke around on 23.1 and see if some of this stuff is useful, and we can share some of those after the chat, but I'm sure that you'll have plenty to talk about next time we catch up in a few days.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thanks, Hamish. Sleep well and
No problem.
have fun tomorrow.
Will do.